sharing a little bit about you, to find out, and to honour the space by a story. So who here likes stories? And who here knows that stories actually give a powerful message in the show of hands? So, story. So there was a prince, and he lived in this beautiful kingdom. And in that kingdom, he was the king, even though he was a prince, very spoilt, and he had everything going for him. And as he was trekking along, he found his beautiful princess. And that beautiful princess became the love of his life. And together they continued their journey wherever their path was going to take them. Lo and behold, through this path come a lot of exciting things that happen in our lives. And so it happened to the prince and princess. So one day when the prince was out hunting, he came across something and he kind of went away from the truth of who he was, and he did something because he wanted to feel good about something, rather than to honour whether it was the righteous path or the wrong path. But he went with that, and he said, right, that's going to make me feel good because I want to feel good for this moment. But he didn't really understand that actually the right or the wrong path was a very big difference in feelings and emotions. So as he went this, in the process of going through what he was wanting to feel really good just for that moment, he got a lot of curses, if you like, from people who didn't honour what he was doing, because he didn't follow the righteous path for him. And so he was cursed by an old man. And the old man said to him, you are going to suffer for what you have just put all these people through. And in return, you're going to get needles and all this stuck on you for every emotion that comes up. So as he goes on, he just kind of shoved it off and thought, okay, how much true can an old man be in that place anyway to give me a curse? What's a curse? And he went on. Oh, he suddenly came across something and he felt a little bit of fear. And the needles started coming in. And he went a bit further, he felt a bit anxious. He said, it's coming, the sun is setting and I'm still not home. And all these emotions, and as the emotions started to rise, he started to feel all these needles coming, and they're just sticking and sticking and sticking on him. Finally, he was just like, oh my God, the truth. What is the truth? Oh, I know, this is the truth of what I'm feeling. And suddenly the nails went straight and they closed his eyes. So he went to the palace, and his princess was devastated. She said, my prince, what's happened to you? She says, don't worry, I will give my whole life to help you take away these needles that are piercing your body. And so what she did, for the next 4 days, she continued to take these needles out of him, one by one by one. What she did was she neglected who she was, and she didn't take any care about how she was feeling. One by one, she started to take these needles out. Then all of a sudden, on the 4th day, she suddenly thought to herself, the last few needles are his eyes. If he opens his eyes and he looks at me, he's going to see that I'm not perfect. I'm not the beautiful princess he saw because I haven't actually looked after myself. I know I'll get the maid to do the last few bits, and before he opens his eyes, I'll go and quickly get ready and just be perfect for my prince. So she called the maid. Maid, come here quickly. And the maid came over and she says, yes, Your Highness, what would you like me to do? She says, I want you to start taking out the needles from my prince's face now and his neck. And I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to get ready so that my prince can see me as the perfect being that I am. She was a perfectionist. She wanted to have everything in place. And so the maid was just like in service, and she decided to carry on and take these needles out. Meanwhile, the princess was up in her quarters, getting ready. She started to do her hair, her makeup, her beautiful dress, and then she started to look in the mirror. God, wish I had real clear skin. my hair needs a bit doing. And it started to get into looking in the mirror, to become self-critical. And in that process, she forgot the reason that she had gone up there, and forgot how Prince was waiting for her. She got diverted, and as she got diverted, she started to look about all these things. She thought, oh, let me just clean up this room for a little while. Oh, I'll put this in place. Let me just make this up. And then she suddenly realized, oh my God, my prince is waiting for me. Meanwhile, the maid had already got to the prince's eyes. And as she took out the needles from his eyes, the prince opened his eyes. And he said, you are beautiful. You spent the last 4 and 5 days looking after me to help me take these needles out. The maid didn't know what to say because she couldn't belittle her highness. And so she just looked at him and he said, because you have restored my sight by taking all this out, I give myself to you forever. I will give and dedicate my life to you from now on. In the meantime, the princess came back. And she was just ready, really immaculately dressed, because perfection was what she lived for. And in that perfection mode, she went to her prince as she stood in the doorway. The prince turned around and he said to her, get out! Get out of my life! I have found the love of my life who has spent 4 or 5 days nurturing me back to my essence. The princess lived in that perfection. And what did it cost her? So I ask you today, where in our lives as women do we actually look at that and think, right, I've got to get everything in place. I've got to make sure the kids are in perfect condition. I've got to make sure my husband's well fed, my house is immaculate. Everything I do is going to be perfect. But really, there is no wisdom in perfection, is there? Because we're already divine, we're already perfect in our wisdom. We've just forgotten our innate knowledge. And so what I want to do today is I want to invite you to be in this space for the next 2 days and just being in your beingness, to really embrace who you are and the essence of who you are. And so I want to invite Marina in a minute onto stage, because Marina has gone through her own journey, which I leave for her to tell you all about. And in that journey, she's come to the place where actually we already have this innate wisdom. We've just forgotten because we are just so clouded with the rice paper of perfection of what everything should be. We live in the shoulds rather than the beingness of who we are, because actually we are perfect. So what does Marina stand for? Marina stands for courage. Courage to actually stand in our own power, to be who we want, to be who we are, the individuality of who we are, because that's the essence of who we are. She stands for truth, the truth in who we already are anyway. We are living truth. We just get diverted. And she stands for playfulness, because as children, we grow up playing. And then all of a sudden, it stops. The playfulness stops. And so I invite you this weekend to really be in the space of courage, truth, and playfulness, so that you can really honor your space. So, ladies, I'd like you to put your hands together, and I invite Marina Pearson Summers.
If you're going through hell, keep going. This was the mantra that kept me going around and around and around in my head.